I pledge allegiance by Holly Murray, invocation followed by Commissioner Truman Tinsley III. Please join us.
Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we're here today to ask for your blessings and guidance in the performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just to the best interests of everyone. Help us to overcome our shortcomings and keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. We start off by approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Mr. Tinsley with a motion, Mrs. Murray with a second. All in favor, please signal by raise your hand. We have 5-0. First item tonight under presentations and delegations. We have the privilege of recognizing Dr. Brant Keller, Director of Watershed Management, as a 2021 Annual Strongest Link in the Chain Award recipient. Director of Public Works, Chris Walker, will address.
It's my great honor to introduce pretty much the only boss I've ever had in my life. I mean, I've been here, worked for him for 26 years. So everything that's good about me and bad about me, I guess I can kind of blame it on him or thank him for it. So I'm going to read this. I just lost it, so I'll pull it back up.
Yeah, he was my first boss at the city.
He was. How'd that go?
Didn't end well. Didn't end well at all.
It's a little long, so just,
Yes, sir.
please allow me. For the 2021 Annual Strongest Link in the Chain Award, I'd like to nominate Brant Keller for his loyalty and dedication to the watershed management operation, as well as the city's functioning body as a whole. Is to be commended and recognized. Dr. Keller's vision for the direction of the city water and wastewater, stormwater, and in the past public works operations is one that takes tremendous attention to detail, focus, and drive. For the past 30 years, he's worked tirelessly, often 7 days a week, to ensure each area functions as designed by being properly staffed, funded, and aligned with purposeful direction, while undertaking projects that improve life in Griffin. He brings an untold amount of institutional knowledge, experience to his staff, particularly his deputy directors. He puts his employees in a position to succeed by equipping them with the necessary tools for the job and allowing them space to work, managing at a distance, and always guiding toward the end goal. His sometimes unorthodox style may not be understood by those outside the influence of his leadership, but is effective and appreciated by those closest to him. For as long as I can remember, Dr. Keller has been my boss. Give me a second. Dr. Keller was my boss. For the past 25 years, I've been afforded the opportunity to have a bird's eye view of what it means to be a high-level manager in local government and its employees, and just what it means to be a public works director. For the past 3 decades, what Dr. Keller may encounter on any given day ranges from potholes, water shortages, drainage problems, employee problems, irate citizens, or worse, irate city manager problems. For the duration of every major storm event in the past 30 years in Griffin, you can find Doc at City Hall, correcting staff throughout the days and the nights, working to ensure crews clear uprooted trees and debris-filled streets, left by whatever emergency, whatever weather-related disaster we experienced. Over the past 3 decades, no matter what emergency or issue, chances are very good Dr. Keller had a hand in assisting or finding a solution, or being the solution in some form or fashion. There are a few director positions in every city where duties never end. Dr. Keller's position as Public Works Director and now as Director of Watershed Management has been one of those. As a result, he's pretty much been on call 24/7 since 1992. And it's never been a problem to find him, as he only goes home for a few hours to shower, take a power nap, and occasionally eat or shoot something. The best way to describe his routine is to say he leaves for work around 8 p.m. and returns home every morning around 4:30 a.m. His job as a director would be best described as a grind. I have little doubt anyone who's had the pleasure of dealing with Dr. Keller will agree. Nobody, and I mean nobody, enjoys the grind more than he does. Through all those years, he and I have had a few disagreements, a few battles, and perhaps a war or two. I'll admit that I'm stubborn, but Dr. Keller is unyielding. In the end, we both survived a lot of water under the bridge, a few administrations, and even managed to build a few things along the way. Dr. Keller is the only boss I've ever really had for any length of time. His work ethic, organizational skills, and his uncanny ability to operate inside the political arena have served as a great model for me to use and follow in my own career. In the end, I believe he deserves this award for the difference he's made and continues to make daily to this great organization, for the network of relationships he's built across the state of Georgia, for his ability to stay laser focused on projects that routinely take 10 years or more to become reality, but most especially for his impact he's made on the city staff and our community over the past 30 years. His efforts in those areas alone serve to qualify Dr. Keller as the strongest link in this chain, as he's not only helped put our town on the map with his accomplishments, he's more importantly brought millions of dollars to this community through his efforts, wisdom, and insight. In my humble opinion, I do not believe there's anyone in this organization more deserving of the award than Dr. Frank Keller. Therefore, I'm asking for your support in this vote for 2021 Strongest Link in the Chain.
Thanks, Sam.
Yes, sir.
Good job.
I gotta get a picture somewhere.
It's got under the,
We don't need two on speaker.
the plaque's under this thing.
I'll use my bad.
You gotta give him the chain too.
Yes.
Chain.
I'll get one more.
Put the chain around your neck, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You gotta take our with you.
Dr. Keller?
Yeah, just three things. The first thing is, one, thank the citizens. They allowed me to work here for 30 years. I want to thank you for the support for 30 years. And the third thing is I'm here because of my staff, not because of me. Y'all have heard me every Christmas. Without my staff, I don't have anything. So you afforded me the opportunity to do a lot of things and spend some money. But the citizens, even though you have some bumps in the road, I appreciate them letting me work here for 30 years.
Dr. Keller, I remember one of the first times I met you, I was the new Public and Business Affairs Committee for Quad Club. In '92, I came to you in a little trailer back behind the gym and said, I'd like to do a tree project in the park. And you jumped right on it and showed me what to do. And I remember the great flood of '94. And even though you weren't over water, wastewater, it was your job to make sure that the pump station didn't get flooded. You sent me out to go find sandbags and stuff. And so whether it's a little task that you give people or the big tasks such as running a utility, the way you enable us younger folks over our lives and stuff, you may not realize it, but you've impacted so many people in this community to be better people and to understand what service is, because you're a servant for everyone. And from your childhood up through your youth, all the way through your service to your country, to your service to America and service to Griffin, you're not only, I think, the strongest link in the chain for the year, you'd have to go back probably to the strongest link in the chain for the last 30 years for the city of Griffin. We're just thankful that you picked Griffin, Georgia as a place to live, work, play, and be a part of our community. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the kind words. And
Yes.
just remember one thing, you young people, you too, you got to learn to pay it forward, okay? That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
You know, we have plenty of sandbags when we sent you looking for.
Oh, really? That's what it was?
We got a place for you.
Dr. Keller, when I first met,
Don't
We'll
say
talk
it.
about it in your talking about it.
I did find I found grain bags at the silo at Orchard Hill, but I came back with sandbags. But thank you so much, Dr. Keller. And Chris, great job. And staff, thank y'all for supporting the nomination. Moving into citizens' comments. At this time, the mayor opens the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to specific agenda items not listed on the agenda for a public hearing or to the concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The mayor reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for resolution. With that being said, is there anybody on my left side like to come before the board? Good evening, welcome, Ms. King. If you please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I am Sharon King at 143 Cumberland Road. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Go ahead and apologize if you see me kind of gasping for breath or shaking. I'm recovering from COVID. I'm not contagious, but my oxygen levels are not stabilized. But I felt like I needed to come here this evening. So I'm here this evening as a community advocate. I'm not representing the Griffin Spalding County Land Bank. Everything I'm about to say are my thoughts and do not reflect the thoughts of the land bank. And I can prove everything that I'm about to say. I'm here to stand against the city. I'm here to stand against Virginia Church as the city's assistant solicitor. There are many examples I can give of her incompetence, but nothing hits as hard as what she did to the constituents on Circus Street. Earlier last year, a resident on Circus Street was approved to purchase a lot next to her house. Sometime in June, trees fell from the land bank lot and crushed her cars on her property. Ms. Church went to take a look at the property and look at the damage to the cars, and the cars were totaled. At this point, Ms. Church saw a building sitting on the land bank property the citizen was approved for. Virginia said to the citizen, "If you don't say anything about the trees, then I won't say anything about the building." None of this was discovered until, to make matters worse, the resident there is older, and she had to have somebody come out and clear the debris where the trees fell, and they were not aware they couldn't put it by the curb, so they got cited for that. Let's see. None of this was discovered until the board members looked into it in October. If that wasn't bad enough, after this was discovered, Ms. Church called the police on the same citizen. And the following is a lesson of systemic racism. On October the 20th, the land bank chair reached out to the city manager to see if the land bank would be cited for its building. At that time, they had no plans of citing the land bank, but recommended if the land bank wanted to file a police report, they should contact a certain officer because they were familiar with the situation. Virginia contacted the Griffin PD officer that was recommended. The officer was contacted on Thursday. The Griffin PD officer went out to the constituent's home at 11:17 p.m. on a Friday to deliver the message that a building was in violation, a code violation of that. This was after she had already sent a letter to the direction of the board to the citizen. Body cam footage showed officers running the resident's tag, even though the car was not parked illegally and no one was driving. This was because the police were fishing. You see, when Virginia contacted the Griffin PD, she made a point of calling the building a boom boom room, which comes with certain stereotypes of drug, alcohol, and ordering. I came to learn that the officer the city manager was recommended was because Chief Yates told her to contact this officer. Officer is part of a CAGE unit, C-A-G-E, Criminal Apprehension and Gang Enforcement. Your police chief because of Virginia, your police chief sent 2 CAGE units at 11:17 p.m. on a Friday night to make a citizen aware of a civil matter that the citizen was already aware of. And now the person who caused harassment of our citizens and turned a blind eye to code and zoning violations and even caused code violations yourself, wants to be assistant solicitor. We deserve better, Griffin deserves better. When someone fails in one area of government, then they do not deserve a chance to fail us again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Is there anybody else on my left like to come before the board? Is there anybody on my right side like to come before the board? Moving into public hearing. Public hearings are conducted to allow public comments on specific advertised items such as zoning ordinances, policy development, operating budgets, and other legislative actions to be considered by the City Commission. Tonight, we will receive comments regarding the request for a special use permit to allow a place of assembly in the Central Business District for property located at 220 East Solomon Street. Director of Planning and Development, Chad Jacobs, will address
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you again. So this is, as indicated, a special use permit for a place of assembly at 220 East Solomon Street. The applicant is Josh Abernathy for City Church, and they would like to use the existing vacant structure for their church, which will conduct services on Sunday and provide space for events and promote downtown business development. The parcel is Zone C, Central Business District, or CBD. And the request does comply with all the special use requirements and all the requirements for a place of assembly, except for one. It does not meet the minimum 2 acres that's required for a place of assembly, as the property is 0.86 acres in size. It does have sufficient parking for the use that is requested. Staff is recommending conditional approval of the request with the following condition: that the applicant shall apply for a variance from the minimum 2 acre lot size requirement for a place of assembly. On January 10th, the Planning and Zoning Board also recommended conditional approval with the same staff condition by a vote of 4-0. Be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from commissioners?
Just for the record, I
Yes,
did ask a question earlier about the impact of having a place of worship in the downtown area as it pertains to like restaurants and the alcohol license and stuff. And was told that as long as those occur in the entertainment district, then there won't be that impact.
Correct.
Okay. So that was the only concern I had as it pertained to the events that we're trying to have in the downtown area. So, and then the other thing, as I'm looking at the map, because I was looking when I drove by, the parking is not paved currently, right?
Correct. They're working on a parking plan,
Okay.
and actually in the information that was supplied in the application, and they kind of show a rough conceptual of kind of how they would lay out for the
Right.
on-site parking spaces, and then actually they'd have access to on-street parking as well, and they're working on a lease with the neighbor as well.
Okay, because I'm looking at the parking diagram they have now, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions from board? This is a public hearing at this time. Is there anybody in the audience that has a comment for or against or have any questions? Okay. Anything else from the board? Good to go. Moving into the consent agenda, consider the minutes of the City Board of Commissioners regular meeting on January 11th, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Tinsley with a motion, Mrs. Murray with a second. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Moving into the regular agenda, consider a request for a special use permit to allow places of assembly in the Central Business District, CBO, for property located at 220 East Solomon Street. Do we have a motion? Approved with the applicant shall apply with the variance with minimum 2 acre lot size. Is that correct? Okay. Motion by Ms. Murray, second by Mr. Tinsley. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 5, lift from the table to consider a resolution making an appointment to the Office of Assistant Municipal Court Solicitor, as well as approving compensation in said position. We have a motion to lift from the table. Mr. Tinsley with a motion. Second by Mr. McCord. All in favor of lifting from the table, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Taking nominations for the appointment of the Assistant City Manager and compensation package. I'm sorry, Solicitor, thank you, Court Solicitor. Do we have nominations? I'd like to nominate Tom Kirkbride. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have nominations to, a motion to close nominations?
Make a motion to close.
Mr. McCord with a motion to close nominations. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Tinsley. All in favor of closing nomination, affirming the appointment of Tom Kirkbride, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 6, Mr. Brock is not here, so we will skip over appointment of P&Z board member. Item 7, rescind the appointment of Kenneth Moore as representative of the Planning and Zoning Board for District 3 and appoint a representative to the Planning and Zoning Board for District 3. So do we need to make a motion to rescind, or or did she just make the appointment?
I think she needs to make a motion to rescind.
Okay, so Ms. Murray with a motion to rescind the appointment. You have a second by Mr. McCord. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand, rescinding the appointment. And at this time, it's 6-0, and at this time, Mrs. Murray, you have an appointment for District 3.
I would like to nominate Earl Shivers.
Okay? And so you're appointing Mr. Earl Shivers as appointment for P and Z Board for District 3. Moving on to item 8, consider resolution to amend the city of Griffin's FY 2021-22 operating capital budget in the amount of $80,265 to recognize additional revenue from motor vehicle title ad valorem tax tab T and to appropriate funds for additional expenditures. Do we have a motion to approve? Ms. Murray with motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tinsley. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 9 is consider a consulting service agreement with Evergreen Solutions LLC, lowest quote for the compensation study. We discussed this today. Motion by Mr. Tinsley. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Murray. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 10 is consider resolution for section 2-190 emergency procurement of the Griffin Code of Ordinance to ratify the purchase of 50 pole mount transformers from Stewart C. Irby Company, lowest quote in the amount of $43,590. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution? Mrs. Murray with a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Ward. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 11 is consider the purchase of 16 8-yard dumpsters in the total amount of $30,930 from Waste Equip Inc. through Sourcewell State Purchasing Contract. Authorize the mayor and city manager to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the purchase of same and amend the budget accordingly. Mrs. Ward with a motion to approve, second by Mr. McCord. All in favor of the purchase, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0 again. And item 12 is consider on second reading a home rule ordinance adopting 6 districts in the city of Griffin based on the 2020 U.S. decennial census. Do we have a motion to approve? Mrs. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Murray. All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Good job, folks. Moving to city manager's report.
Just very briefly, since it was put on the record a little while ago, let me just clarify a little bit of inaccuracy in this King's statement. We did have a situation on Circus Street this year with the land bank in which they had placed an accessory structure on a lot that they did not own. That is a trespass. Because it is a criminal trespass and what they've done, it's a little bit odd than just a person trespassing. It's actually a piece of property trespassing. So I did ask Chief Gates who exactly would have the legal knowledge to handle something like that. He did suggest Lieutenant over the cage unit, and he did that because the boom boom room was actually mentioned not by Ms. Church, but by the sister of the property owner at a former land bank meeting. So we didn't make up that terminology. I didn't know that terminology, but a boom boom room is something known to some of our police officers because it is used sometimes for illegal activity. That is the purpose of sending somebody out there at 11 o'clock at night and not during the day, because generally the activity goes on at night. So there wasn't any ill will, there wasn't any systemic racism or anything like that in regards to why it was done in the manner in which it was done. And I just felt like since that was put on the record today, it might be best to go ahead and rectify the comments that were made. On a positive note, I would like to recognize Dr. Keller and his service to our community. I hope that we will be able to recognize him further later this spring before he leaves us for good. He has assured me that he will still help me with any budget questions I may have after he goes in April. And thank you all for a productive workshop today. It was nice to sort of get some smart goals done and sort of have a good idea of what y'all like to see from us, and then also your support in what we worked really hard on last Friday. And thank you to the directors for all of their hard work the last couple of days. That is an exhausting process, but I think maybe with their being able to miss staff meeting tomorrow, they'll recover very quickly so they can get ready to go again tomorrow. So thank you for today.
Thank you. Mr. Whalen.
I really don't have anything further to add, but I would say we're well ahead of the game as far as our legislative reapportionment. I've had 3 calls in the last week, other city attorneys looking for assistance. The Legislative Reapportionment Office, the state said they were not even gonna take these issues up with cities until sometime later on this year. So I think y'all done great work in the process and it's come out well. So we'll be filing that with the Secretary of State very soon.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mrs. Murray?
Congratulations, Dr. Keller. We had a long history going back. You kind of trained me on how things go at the city, and I appreciate all the kind words of wisdom that you pass along. You still help me with everything that I ask for you still today. So congratulations and well deserved. And it's a great workshop today. I'm very proud of all the department heads, all the goals, and it's really kind of neat to, we can see the previous year's goals, that those things were actually achieved, and we kind of decided that today, just going through, and it's really neat to see that it's government, you hear all the time from people, oh, you just talk up there, and that's just not true. We can actually show, and you all delivered, and great job through 2021. We're gonna have a great 2022, and I'm still very excited to be here and can't wait to work with this board for the next 4 years, right? I got 4 years left. Okay, thanks, that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Flowers?
Very quickly, one is about, if I don't ask now, I won't remember because I leave every week and forget to ask. On our agenda, on the iPad, is there a way that we can, you know how we used to be able to access each agenda item? That feature's gone forever and ever.
I have been asking about that, because I don't like it either.
You gotta roll through the whole thing now.
It's incredibly difficult to track.
I think that's something that we're gonna have to get back on. I was wondering when y'all were gonna ask about that, because I've been,
Because you can't just click on it and you gotta like
gotta-
fill the whole pile.
yeah, it's.
I forget every week to ask, but okay, so someone else is.
We have looked at it a couple of times, but y'all haven't really questioned it, and I figured out how to do it, so I just figured maybe y'all don't
No, it's
bother you, but,
horrible.
okay,
Okay.
we'll add that back to the list. We can fix it, there you go.
Okay, that's why whenever it's my turn to comment, I'm like, hold on, because I gotta scroll back through everything to try to find the page, so that will certainly make the meeting a little quicker. And then congratulations, Dr. Keller. I certainly expected that when you said there were 3 things that you would tell us, that one of them would be at the end of the day. But since you didn't say it, it is the truth, at the end of the day, you have been an excellent asset to our community. And I am very grateful. I think his description of you is very accurate. Even in the parts that were a little comical. But this community has been greatly blessed to have you here, and so I'm very grateful that you're here. That's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Ward?
Ditto.
Mr. Tinsley?
Congratulations, Brent. I've only known you for 4 years, but it's been fun.
You've done it for 30 years.
Mr.
Lord.
I just want to thank the staff today for a seamless, I think this was the easiest, the smoothest. Really, I mean, it really was today. It was nothing really contentious at all. Thank you guys for the update on what's going on with the city, and I think you guys are handling that very, very well. Now, I like Commissioner Murray. I look forward to this year, and I think we're off to a very good start, and everybody seems to be on the same page, which is always a good thing. Dr. Keller, of course, a lot of you guys don't know because this happened in circa 1993, 92, actually it was 92. That was my senior year at Morehouse College, the finest academic institution in the nation. And Dr. Keller, I was working as a lifeguard at the swimming pool, and he attempted to fire me. And it sparked me to run for office. And because of that, the next year, I became the youngest elected official in the history of Griffin until Cora came along and booted me out.
Dethroned you.
Dethroned me.
And changed it on the website so that you can say it.
Yeah, and took it off my webpage so I can't call that distinction. And Dr. Keller and I, since then, became what I would say best of friends. He's probably the only department head that does not refer to me as Commissioner or Mr. McCoy. He calls me by my nickname, Duke, and he refuses. He's tried But when he does, when he says, Mr. McCord, I think he owes me some money, or I owe him something is not right, or we're being robbed or something. But I have enjoyed our relationship. The knowledge that he brings to the job is just amazing. When he started out with none of y'all will hear himself doing that. When he started out with the rain tax, and everybody was like, man, no, we can't. And he's like, no, it's stormwater. They're like, no, that's the rain tax. And all of the state, and they laughed at us. And they said, oh, that would never work. And that makes no sense whatsoever. That man was out in front when everybody else said no. And now every other city is trying to emulate and imitate what we do. And they call in Dr. Keller, and he is the expert on that. And he's been all over to talk about that. So just that alone, just a guy willing to go out, take a chance, do something that's very unpopular at the time. And we all thought we would get voted out of office because of it. But it turned out to be one of the best things for our city and getting us some revenue. So I know that you probably gonna stick around a little bit longer, and it's hard to not have anything to do, but I want to thank you again for being the strongest man and being a great friend.
Let me straight the record straight. You were fired. And furthermore, one of my mentors, Mr. Raymond Head, asked me to give you a second chance. So let's get that on the book. So Mr. Head saved your job.
So then I got elected.
The rest of the storyline.
So when I got elected, he said, oh my God, this guy's gonna try to get me fired. Never once did I bring it, and he told me, he said, man, you never brought that up. Because after I got on the job, I began to see he wasn't as bad as they said he was. So it all worked out.
I will say you were the best lifeguard I ever had.
Now you see it.
I told you that before.
All right.
We look forward to hearing about the reason why I got fired later on. So that'll be over cold drink somewhere. So Dr. Keller, congratulations. Thank you for your friendship and relationship and being there for us all these years. I was calling Kenny Smith on the way through Jackson. I looked over and saw him pulling into Jackson City Hall. And so we reminisced about 2004 when Kenny came on board, and we were talking about where our community has come in the last 18 years. And it is amazing. The word I used for today was seamless. I mean, it was just wonderful to work and reflect on what y'all have accomplished as a team, what your vision, what your goals is, and how it is a seamless fit in terms of what we as a board want to make Griffin the best place to live, work, live, learn, and retire. And just so proud of this community and look forward to what we're going to accomplish this year. And this time next year, we'll look back and reflect on our successes and the opportunities that we're going to create and keep moving forward. So again, staff, thank you for your time and what you do for our community. And we're very thankful and blessed to have you working with each of us. That being said, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Tinsley, second by Ms. Flowers.
Yes.
Please join us in sending ribbons.
Bye, y'all.
The sidewalks is best.
The first motion. Oh.